Alrighty, welcome back. I'm your man, Bad Chad, and Queen Jolene's on the camera. She woke up at 7 this morning looking like a 10, and we are on air. We've got the catwalk. I guess we're going to call it today. We're going to call it the catwalk. I've called it a few things since we started, but we got the catwalk welded up. We've got the panels in there right. We've got the weld ground down. We got it looking where we want to. The big thing, the most important part of this part is being able to weld this big panel in here without getting it all warped and oil can, all that sort of stuff, like welding that back window in there. So when I knock on that, everything is tight and right. I've got it really nice going across there. There's no oil can going on. There's no big low spots in it. And if you can get it like that, you'll have to use less of this. And believe me, it wasn't always this way for me. I put a lot of filler in things which I have messed up, and that's how I learn. That's basically how you learn, is when you mess up. When you mess up, then you figure out how not to do it again. When you take a look around the back window, you can see how I'm starting to weld that up. Some places are filled in more than other, and some are not. But it's spot, 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 spot. You continuously take over the top of the welds over each one, so you get it continuously welded up. So when you grind it off, it's complete. I'm liking this a lot better instead of running up to the back window. But today we're going to grind some of this off. We're going to get it prepared for fiberglass. Fiberglass is before filler. We live in Nova Scotia here. Our weather changes. We have 4 seasons sometimes in one day. And that's why I use fiberglass. Fiberglass goes over top of the welds. It's a reinforced body filler. It's just a little bit stronger, basically. And we use it here. If you're in a different part of the country or a different part of the world, you may not have to use the fiberglass. I'm not sure. I got to throw a big thank you out to everybody that wrote in where you're from. Wow, it's quite amazing where people are watching from and the projects that are going on. I couldn't name all the places right off the head, but Jolene, let me know that there was, how many 2,100 comments. 2,100 comments. Wow. From people that are doing projects and from people all over the world. I want to say thank you for watching. I appreciate it. Jolene appreciate it. And I'm hoping that I motivate you to work on your project, because we do it every day. Let's put some fiberglass on there, or let's get this ready to put some fiberglass on it. I've got the metal looking pretty good. It's just shiny right now. I've ground off the welds. I got it feeling where I wanted to get it feel. But before I put fiberglass on that catwalk, or where I've welded it, I really want to rough it up so the body fill or the fiberglass adheres really, really well. I want it to adhere as best it can. So to make it adhere as best as can, you would scratch it up. Just like when Jolene does her nails, she takes a little sandpaper, rubs her nails, scratches her nails, and the glue and the nail stays on longer than normal. So if you come over here, you can see, if you want to come over here for a second, here, where I welded the roof up on the car, it burnt the paint a little bit, obviously, because I welded it across all the way across here. When I blew the air on it, see what happened? See how the paint flew off that primer? And that primer still looks shiny. I'm not sure if it wasn't sanded or what it was, but basically it's not a real good thing when you put air to something and the paint blows off. So we're going to make this one stick on this one. We've got it welded all the way around the edges, all the way around that back piece there. Let's do it. I'm going to put a little air in this tool, just because air tools should use air daily to make them work as long as possible. Just a couple drops will do you. A couple drops will do you. I do not mind putting fiberglass or filler over top of paint that is sticking, as long as you got it scratched up. It's pretty hard to pull that off, and if you have to sand it to get it off, it must be okay to put a filler on top of it. The only thing that I do not like or do not do, if you have lacquer thinner primer. Lacquer thinner primer does not adhere fiberglass or body fill very good whatsoever, so you got to be careful to make sure you do not do that. The new primers they're making nowadays, the polyester primers, excellent. I would say we're down to the original yellow paint there. We should be fine. This metal here should scuff it up like that. You can see it's nice and shiny there. Just took the Eastwood machine over top. It made it look like that. But basically, if you're going to put fiberglass or filler on anything, you should have it looking like that. And I have made that mistake before, and that's how I know. I'm scratching the whole panel because I know that I'm going to flood the panel with filler. That means I'm going to fill the whole thing. That's why I'm sanding the whole thing. Basically, if I was just going to sand that much of it, that wouldn't be prepared for fiberglass or filler if I didn't do that. So I'm just going to do the whole thing because I know I'm going to flood it. That way there, it's done. I like that a lot better in there like that. Got a 24 grit pad on the 8-inch orbital here, just to scratch it up nice. Probably should have took the paint off before I hit the metal. I've dolled my sandpaper up. It was kind of a silly thing for me to do. I should have hit the paint first. You can tell also this car was painted a couple times. There's yellow there, factory yellow where it's close to the metal. Then I got primer, and then I got yellow on top of it again, so you know the car's been painted. See how that paint's coming off that primer. I think you can also see how that yellow paint's sticking on the car, the factory paint that is. So I'm not scared to put any fiberglass filler over top of that, having a hard time getting it off, so it's going to adhere to it. Now we'll go back to scratching the paint or the metal. Got the paint all off. Now, as I scratch that with 40 grit, if I hit it with an 80 grit, I can polish that metal right back up again. So if it comes time when I put the filler on it and I come back down to the metal or the metal again, if I hit it with an 80 grit, it takes them scratches out. So the metal can be polished back up again, that's for sure. As I scratch it. I would say that's the ultimate preparation for putting fiberglass on that metal, having that scratched up like that. It's going to stick so well. Just going to run a little bit across here. It's a lot of welding across, all the way across that back piece to put that in, and take your time and do the job. It'll pay off in the end. Alrighty. I'm going to actually, I've got this welded right along here, right along the edge of the roof. I'm going to put fiberglass on that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring that down further so it gives me more feathering area. If I do not bring it down further, I'm going to have fiberglass right to the edge, and I'd rather have enough to feather it off, just like your drywall. You want a nice wide piece to feather it off nice, not that it's that thick, it's just it feathers off nicer. I'm having to take it down a fair bit away because it got that primer in between there, and the way that yellow paint's peeling off, I'm okay with the factory paint. It's the paint that's on top of the yellow paint, or the factory paint, and the primer. Should be lots. I'm going to go to the other side. I'll do the other side while I'm doing this, and then we'll throw some fiberglass on. you can see how that's not feather, how it's ripping that yellow paint off on top of that primer, then the yellow paint underneath that. I want to get this yellow paint off and the primer underneath of it. The reason being is I don't like how it's adhered. See that, can you? How that's coming off. And it might last forever scratching that and putting filler over top of that. It might last forever, but it might not. So basically I'm going the extra distance, peeling it off, so I have no issue. See how that's peeling off like that? Can you see that? So you know what's got to be done to the hood and the trunk lid. There's a good day stripping the pair of the hood and the trunk, a good day stripping them, but they're going to have to be stripped. I don't want to talk about the roof. And when you're doing, when you're painting your car, let's face it, if you want to throw a paint job in your car and you get a couple little spots you want to fix, I would not strip it just because that happened. If I went somewhere and I was digging the places I was fixed, I was fixing something, I would not dig all that off or take all the paint off the car because that's the way it's stripped, where I was fixing a couple of places to paint the car. I would probably fix the places I was doing. I'd strip back a little bit, I'd fix my couple places, then I'd sand the car down and paint it, give it a coat of paint. You have to realize when you start stripping all the paint off to paint something, you are getting into deep waters because there's a lot of ocean floor when it comes to a whole car. So really, you really have to refrain sometimes how far you really go with it, unless you have the idea that you want to take it down to bare metal, and that's where you want to start. It's a huge undertaking to take all the paint off your car and come back up from the bottom. Now, I'm saying that the issue with most of that coming off like that is the primer underneath the paint. I'm going to blow it off, get it free of any dust and all that sort of stuff. I should have not been so foolish and stripped the paint before I did the metal. I should have done that first. And you should too. Because it's hard on the paper. As soon as you hit the metal, you are destroying a piece of 40 grit paper. So this process I'm doing right now, I just want to get fiberglass over top of the weld to start the body work. Not going up here yet because this is not prepared for body work whatsoever. We haven't got the window in there yet. We're not finished welding around there yet, but I can put some fiberglass on where we're starting. And the reason being I'm not going up here yet because I do not know the window that I'm putting in there yet, so I'm just going to stay away from it until I get a window. Watch yourself, sweetheart. If you've never worked in a body shop before, you really don't realize how ugly things look before they look really good. You know, when we're doing the metal work, everything can look absolutely gorgeous. When you're doing the metal work and you grind off and try to make the welds look as best you can really make it look good. But when you start going onto the body work, that's when it goes back to the ugly stage. And what I mean by the ugly stage is making all the scratches and that sort of stuff to get it prepared for the fiberglass to stick. I'm going to run a heat gun over top of the metal. The only reason I'm going to do this is because it's not real warm here today, and I just want to put a little heat in the metal. So when I put my fiberglass on, I can cure right. Just gonna wave it over for a second. Put a little heat in the metal. It's cold here today. We had the doors open all night. This is not something that I do every time. No, it's not. This is just something I'm doing right this present moment because I want some heat in the metal before I put fiberglass on, that's all. That's all I'm doing it for. You know it's good when you get a sliver of metal in your hand because you're rubbing your hand over top of the metal and there's a sliver of metal goes in because you know you get it scratched up good. Excuse me, sweetheart. Jolene looks amazing today, as always. Got a nice little... I get to see her in glasses when we come up here and do the film work. Usually I don't see her in glasses. She had me laughing yesterday at the end of the video. She had them on there a little crooked. And I didn't think she quite realized how funny she looked. But it was quite funny when she put the camera down. Go look in the mirror, eh, baby? She had her glasses all cocked up. And the camera must have hit her head or something. But anyways, we got the metal prep. So we've taken a full piece of 40 grit on a DA. We got circular motions. We got a scratch everywhere. We got the paint stripped off that the paint wasn't sticking real well. The primer, that is. I might be able to feather some of that off, this rest stuff, or I might even strip it right up into here maybe and end it right at this top of this fin. And that way there I can get rid of it and be done with this. Will get stripped. We'll see what happens with everything else. So I've got some Napa body fill. I just use Napa body fill, Napa know-how. They're close by, they're good to me. I've been using them for many years now. I've got some resin, some fiberglass resin. Generally I use the same product on the fiberglass reinforced body filler as I use the same resin as I do the fiberglass body fill, but I do not have any at this present moment, and I found this, so it's the exact same thing. It's resin, polyester resin. So I'm going to put some fiberglass on the old board. You can see, if you look inside here, just take a look inside the can. That dark stuff over there is the resin. And sometimes it's really hard to get the resin all mixed up in the fiberglass properly. I'm going to just do a little batch right now. Put a little batch on. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to mix some of this fiberglass resin in my fiberglass first. And the reason being is I want that fiberglass thinned out a little bit. I don't like it right chunky like that. It's really hard to put on. It's really thick. When I put the resin in it, it thins it down a little bit, which I like. I've been checking the car over a little bit. I've got some welding to do on the other quarter, on the passenger side quarter panel underneath. Got some welding to do underneath there. It must have got pulled out halfway or quarter way, or not halfway, 3/4 being done, because there is still some metal work to do on the other side on the bottom quarter panel and the wheel well. So I've got to do some more metal work. That's fine. That's fine. There's been a lot of metal work done to the car, and what a head start it gives us when, you know, a lot of the cars like this. I don't have to do everything. It's nice to get a good start. And what I mean by a good start is some of the work's been done. You can see how that fiberglass is thinning out nice and smooth. Just gonna debate whether I want it smoother or thinner or not, because all I have to do is mix more. I think I'll go with that. Why not? And the resin actually helps the fiberglass slow down the healing process because you've thinned it out. I mean by healing is curing it. It slows it down a little bit, which that is a good thing. Try not to flop it over and put too many air bubbles in it. But this is all going to get covered with filler because this is the first step. Now I'm going to just jump over to the middle. I like to plop it on like the drywaller. Plop it on, get rid of it, and then spread it out. I should have put some tape on the trunk lid, as I should have done, because I don't want it all over the trunk lid. Trying to get it on as smooth as possible. That way there I don't have to spend a whole bunch of time grinding it and messing with it to get. Generally what happens is you have to mess with your fiberglass before you body fill. And I'm trying to get it on smooth enough that I don't have to mess with it a whole bunch. Nope, I want to go this way. So I don't even want to go that way. I just want to go this way. I'll use it all if I can. Get it all on there. rag. Not sure if that's the rag to use, but I'm going to use it. It's got a little water on it. Jolene wants to come across there. You can see how nice that glass, or that fiberglass, reinforced body filler is laying out. How smooth it is. It wouldn't take much to knock it off with the DA, and that's what I like. That's what I like. That's what I like. Let's get some more going here. And that dry stuff, all that fiberglass on the side, that's really dry. I'm going to grab it and use it. And the reason being is because I can put fiberglass resin in it and bring it back to life. If you're still using lacquer primer would be in your spray bombs, and you mix thinner with it. If you're still using your lacquer primer, you would not dare put any fiberglass or body filler over top of it. It does not adhere. If you're using polyester primers, it adheres almost better than it does to bare metal. But you still would probably like to scratch it. Still a little thick for me. Just a little bit. Just a little bit. Also, me putting this fiberglass on there, I really do not want to take much of that fiberglass off because I want it to cover the weld. That's what I want it to do. I want it there. For me to put it on and then take a grinder and grind it all off does not make sense. I'll take some of it off, yes, no doubt in my mind. If I hit it when I'm sanding my filler that's over top, that's great. And that tells me that I'm really close to the metal. And that tells me that I haven't got much on. And that's a good thing. Nope, I want some hardener. Hardener's about 3%. So I'll explain this again. So I split it in half. That'd be 50%. If I split it in half again, that'd be 25. If I split it in half again, that'd be 12 and a half or whatever. And then you go down 3%. So to what you have. So you basically can work it out if you want to. You can work it out how much you need. I generally just spray enough in there that it changes color. Should be enough. So the back window, we haven't made our mind up yet. We'll probably go to a junkyard and look for something. And I have something up my sleeve if it does not pan out at the junkyard. And we'll do that if we have to. Just want to get it mixed up nice, make sure everything, that hardener's all the way through it so we have no issues. Put it on, and then we'll deal with it. Starting to get a little bit of cure in the fiberglass we just put on. Don't really want to hit it, but I'm into it now. Just going to put a little more on because I think it's okay. All the way. I'm going to put a little more on. Okie dokie. Generally, I try to weld up everything solid. That way there, you're sure of, well, you're not sure of anything when it comes to body work, but in your own brain, you're you know, it makes you think that you've done a better job, or you've done the job that's necessary to make it last. Put it on, and then spread it out. I've got a seam that's going here, so I might as well just cover the whole thing. Nope, I wanted to cover the whole thing. My shirt in it over here. Seen that, didn't you? That was always a good trick. When, no, it wasn't a trick, but when someone got done spreading their fill, if you worked at a body shop, just go over and run your finger through it. A lot of people would be pissy, and the reason being is you have to put more on it. Don't need much in there, so I just want to get it in there with my finger if I can. Good. I didn't get into that, but I did, and I did. Always come back and clean your board off the best you can, and clean your squeegee off the best you can. And the reason being is, if you have anything or any piece or hard piece or any material on your squeegee when you spread it out, you're going to leave marks in it. I generally just cut up with the boards, I just cut up new ones full time. I don't mess around and clean a board. It just seems like a wasted bunch of time to clean up a board. But you're more than welcome if you want to. I'm only telling you what I do. Get some more out. See how thick and hard that is. If I did not mix resin in it, I definitely would not be laying it out on the car like that. Definitely. It's very thick, I find. And that's the reason I thin it out. Ooh, she should be good and thin this time. Yeah, I'm thinking that we should be fine. That should be fine. Just wondering if I was going to thin it out anymore. Make sure I get enough hardener. Want to make sure that it's mixed up good, or you'll have places where it's soft, and Lord knows we don't want that. And Lord knows we don't want that. Put it on and spread it out. Just trying to feather it off there where it's got that edge. Fina's doing a good job outside this morning. Not saying a word. Get in there with a die grinder and scratch it up the best I could. Stop it. Had to get into it, didn't I? I've had a lot of people come up to me and enjoy this little trick. You know, if you're a body man, I've had a lot of people come up to me and say they enjoyed the fiberglass trick. And when I first done it, I enjoyed it also. So when you put the fiberglass on it, you really can see how that is going to look. So I can anyways. I can see how it's going to look. It's going to look good, I'm thinking. I just didn't like how it ended at the back part of the window. I just didn't like it. And it's what Ford or Thunderbird did, and I wanted it my way. I wanted it my way. You know how that goes. To make yourself happy, make sure you do it your way. Stuff's hard to even move around without any resin in it. Hard to even move around. See Jimbo getting his mount done on his 57. Jim Patterson is his name, Jim Patterson. I keep calling him Jimbo. I should call him Jim Patterson because if you want to subscribe, that's the name, Jim Patterson. And he's fixing up a 57 Oldsmobile. And when that Oldsmobile came into my life is when we did the floor in it. And we basically were fixing it so he could field drive it. And Jimbo just took over. Man, he's cruising. He's cruising. He's going to make her. He's going to make her go. He's repairing everything on that car with a torch. I don't even know if I could set up a torch to weld. I used to be able to, but it's been a while. I just enjoy the Lincoln electric welder, the MIG welder, and the reason because it's the fastest form of welding in the world. To grab that thing, turn the button on, turn on the gas, and you're welding. It's the fastest thing in the world. For welding, that is. Well, I shouldn't say. It could, you know, stick might be quicker, I'm not sure, but it's pretty fast. And if you have any issues finding out something to buy for your kids for Christmas or anything like that, buy them a Lincoln welder. They'll love it. They'll weld their bicycles, they'll weld their lawnmower. They can do anything with it. Have a lot of fun with a welder, you can. Fix the next door neighbor's lawnmower, fix their wheelbarrow for them, do a whole bunch of stuff with a welder. Now, if I did not put any fiberglass resin in that fiberglass, there's no possible way that I'd be spreading that out like that. It just wouldn't lay out like that. It just wouldn't. Put it on, and then layer out. Looks good. I'm going to swipe it again because I feel like it. Just going to put this here. Looks like a waste not, want not. Alrighty, so we get all the seams glassed for the catwalk. That's all glassed across there. I will knock off all the little tiny pieces that are sticking up. And what I mean by the little tiny pieces that are sticking up, something like this here, that little ridge there. Any little ridges in it, I'd run over the top of it with the 8-inch 40 grit. I do not like to sand fiberglass, but I will take off the imperfections before I even start. When you do this process, you must realize you've put in the fiberglass over top of the welds for a reason, and the reason is for strength and to try to seal that up the best as you can from any unforeseen pinholes. And what I mean by you don't want any pinholes, but let's face it, when you weld up a gas tank, you generally always check the gas tank for pinholes because you cannot see them. One that maybe look like something that's a pinhole is probably not a pinhole, but you cannot see pinholes. And what this fiberglass is just trying to give the ultimate protection of that pinhole, anything getting behind it. I do not feel, I could have just probably put body fill over top of it all. I feel like it probably would have been just fine because there's nothing really coming up underneath all this sort of stuff. I'm here, I'm not thinking anything's going to get underneath it, but that's just what I generally always do. Put fiberglass on top of the welds. So the metal, I've explained this before, the metal is the ocean floor. The fiberglass and the filler is you're putting on a flood. So I will cover the whole thing. I will knock off the little tops of the fiberglass, and then I will cover the whole thing in filler. When I go to sand this thing, I am definitely going to hit metal again. Yes, I am. But you must understand, there's no further you're going than the metal. So the ocean floor is the metals. So when you go down to Kingsport and you look at the ocean floor, it's rough. It's muddy, it's got rocks, it's rough. When you go down Kingsport and the tide is incomplete, it's got a flood. It's just, I mean, there's no wind, it's just as smooth as glass. That's basically what's going on when you put filler on top of the ocean floor, which is your metal work. You've got grinder marks, you've got weld marks, you've got little imperfections up and downs. You're trying to put a flood on it so you cannot see anything, so it looks perfect. So when you get sanding this fiberglass and body filler, you must understand, once you start flattening it out and you start hitting that ocean floor is when you stop. It's over. Get back into flooding it again and sanding it so that flood is on there just perfect. You don't want to see much of that metal poking through. Wherever you see the metal poking through is where you're going to maybe have issues of seeing something. And the reason being is being feathered off nice, just like your drywall. If your drywall's not, if your seam's not nice and wide and feathered out nice, you will see the seam of your drywall. Like this right here, that is, you would see that if you were going to paint that, you would see it. Now, if you made it bigger, you would not see it. Doesn't, you know, it doesn't make any different. It makes it a lot better when you widen it out and so you don't see it. So basically the exact same as this. When you start putting on not enough filler, that's when you have issues. Anything high, like too much, generally you don't see it. Anything that's low doesn't look good. Alrighty. Thanks for coming back, everybody. I appreciate it, and I appreciate everybody writing in where you were from and where you're watching from in your projects. It's funny to hear some of the projects, you know, people watching the station and their projects are a lot different than what I'm doing, which does not matter because we're all doing the exact same thing. Now, there's people all over the world, like, it was crazy. I could probably go on for 15, 20 minutes talking about all the different places, but I want to tell you, it is all the same thing. You're working at something, you're trying to get it done, trying to do it as most reasonable as possible, and you're my kind of guy, you know. Basically, that's what I do. If this car was $10,000, I would not have bought it. Nope, would not have bought it. And the reason being is because I can find something a little cheaper to play with to cure my need. But the price was right on this car. It was a fantastic price. I got to thank Jamie on that. We still have got some body work to do to what I see. The hood and the trunk lid are going to need to be stripped from what I can tell from the paint. Not sure how far I'm going to go with the stripping of the paint on this side. Not sure yet what I'm going to do with the roof. In all honesty, I'm not sure if I should peel off all the paint or not because of what's going on when I blow it, the blow gun on the primer, how the paint comes off. It would be a shame to, you know, it would be a shame for something to come off after you were done doing what you were doing. But we will deal with that when the time comes, when we'll show you what we do with it. All right, everybody, thanks a lot for coming back. I appreciate it. Like, subscribe, comment. Good luck on your project, and thanks for watching, and come back tomorrow. We'll be here.